Namaste. Welcome to Wise Owl Career Guide. Today we have somebody who is actually in the profession of guidance for school kids. She's done her BA honors in English, then a master's in psychology, along with a B.Ed education into guidance and coaching. Please welcome Atipriya Alawat for the session today. Welcome, Atipriya.
Hi Neha, thank you for the lovely introduction.
So Aditya, from English honors to masters in psychology, and then okay, with psychology I can still relate the guidance bit, but
Yes.
what was the driving factor or thought process for that switch from English honors to psychology?
So I'll tell you another fun fact, Neha, that in school, in class 11th and 12th, I had commerce with maths. So
Okay.
so yeah, I was I would say a little confused child when I
Hmm.
was in school. Then yes, I went for English honors. I had other plans. I wanted to go for law, but things didn't turn out the way that I wanted them to. And eventually, I ended up with English honors. And I took psychology as an additional subject because, to be very honest, I had never heard of the subject. So वो बस एक it's like सुन के अच्छा लग रहा है, पढ़ के अच्छा लग रहा है, like it looks good on the paper. So I started that ways, but in the course of English honors, there was direct inclination towards psychology when I started reading it. We call it the aptitude, the right aptitude. So I found
Right.
it when I was in college, and then there is no turning back. Like I shifted a lot of streams, but then after that, I was pretty much dedicated to the stream, and I think that's the best decision that I've made.
So, with your master's in psychology, what were the kind of options open and available for you once you finished your master's?
So with psychology, we have different branches.
Right.
So we can get into career counseling, we can get into counseling psychology, we can get into clinical psychology. So depending upon your masters, I particularly chose counseling psychology because with clinical, I thought that maybe I'm not the right person to be in a clinical setting. So I think there were a lot of branches, and depending upon your interest, the field of psychology is open for you. Then you have your research PhD, then you have your teaching professions, then you have your practice as a
Mhm.
therapist, and also
Right.
you have you can get your specialization in particular therapies as well. So we have
Okay.
art-based therapy, we have cognitive behavioral therapies, we have you beautifully described therapies, and you can go into them and then use them in your real life settings.
Okay. So recently we had an interview with a person who's into, dancing as a career, and she's done a dance therapy as part of her learning curve. So yes, I can understand the various kinds of, streams available. So, once you, finished your master's, do you need to have a B.Ed to get into career counseling for schools,
If we
or
Hanji.
just the master's is okay?
So there are two streams that you have. All right. Once you're done with masters in psychology, and you preferably want to get into teaching, which is the main thing that I focus upon. That I'm PGT psychology. We refer to as the postgraduate training and teachers. So
Okay.
for that, it is very important to go with B.Ed. So that gives you a little, you're above the rest of the crowd. So you're there for teaching. And when it
Mhm.
comes to counseling and guiding students, uske liye, I think pretty diploma certificates and your experience will help you in the school setting, is what I'm telling.
Okay. So, Atipriya, from what you had studied to what you had imagined of what the job as a teacher, as a counselor is gonna be, to what was those realities of the first week of actually joining the school? How did the
So
bubble burst?
oh, beautifully. So
Okay.
my mother was a teacher, and I was always, inclined towards teaching. Like I always find it very intriguing and very interesting. So when I entered teaching, we were in that Bollywood phase, and those movies are a phase that, one teacher creating impact upon students in a wonderful manner. So I entered my first school with that approach, and it didn't work out that way. So with time, I understood that, you can give in your best. You
Right.
can work upon your methodologies, you can work upon your teaching styles, but having that irrational, aspect that I will be loved by all the students, I will be the favorite teacher. um, it took me some time to realize that and understand that, but realizing that has been wonderful. Like, it showed me a mirror that, things will not happen the way that you thought of them.
Right. So, help us understand what is the kind of day-to-day work required in terms of when we talk about the counseling bit, not the teaching bit, the counseling bit. Which classes do you start with, and how do you take them through? Because as you've experienced yourself from commerce to BA to psychology, the kids today are even more confused with the plethora of opportunities that are coming in. So,
Um,
which class do you start with?
so when we talk about counseling, it has to start from the pre-primary. As
Okay.
as fancy as it may sound, but then it is the age where early intervention. We generally use this term as, early intervention is very important, and the generation and the students have completely, they're in a different zone, especially after
Right.
COVID. There is no undenying the fact that the emotional and the other social emotional aspects of a child has gone for a toss. So
Correct.
it has to start with pre-primary. It helps us in early intervention. For example, it helps us to identify kids with learning disabilities so that we can
Mhm.
take the right steps for the child. So
Right.
it starts from pre-primary, and then it continues till class 12 in school setting. And preferably career counseling starts from grade 8th, 9th, depending
Okay.
upon the aptitude, personality, and the interest of the child.
So how do you, go about these? Are there any tests or, questionnaire kind of a thing that the students fill, or what exactly happened? Or is it just the general observation of the teachers?
So it basically starts with, generally schools are equipped with life skill classes these days. So it
Okay.
gives the edge to the counselor to interact with the students directly. It's not the
Okay.
conventional form where, the school knows that there's a counselor sitting in an office and then you can go to her. But
Hmm.
and also we are not there in the moral science wala phase. We have given that up. So we have
Right.
started with life skills, and the counselors directly interact with teachers. So it helps us to identify kids. Plus,
Okay.
career counseling sessions are taken. Like, we talk about interests, we talk about aptitude, preferably we talk about self.
Okay.
So as a counselor, my task is to make kids aware about their self. So if that
Okay.
part is dealt in a proper manner, so it helps
Mhm.
the child to identify the interests.
Right.
And depending upon that, the child can approach the counselor, have have their confusions sorted, and
Right.
finally the appropriate way is to guide the parent and the child to a career counselor.
Okay.
So we have career counselors who have their whole experience of assessing the statistical and the psychological tools. So they
Hmm.
go through the process and they have their lists of colleges and then elaborative research that they do. So we refer
Okay.
the child there. But yes, again, the confusions and the conflicts that the child has
Mhm.
can be dealt in the school setting.
All right.
That is how it goes.
Also, okay. So also help us understand a lot of times, kids base their future career choices depending on the subject that they enjoy studying and are passionate about. Is that the right approach for it? I might like a subject, but the career options available with that subject might be something that I might not enjoy. So, what is that basis of deciding there?
So
Do
whenever
you
we talk
suggest
about
following it?
careers, it is just not based on your interest. So if you
Okay.
want to get a holistic, view of your
Hmm.
career and your job satisfaction wise for the longer run, we go for career oriented interest skills we have, then we have aptitude skills, and then we
Okay.
have personality assessments as well. So when these three tests combine together, so we
Mm-hmm.
get a more holistic approach as to when the child, you know that you have interest in two to three things, but where does your aptitude lie? Out of the three things, if given the right training, which is the field that you will excel in, so it
Okay.
somewhat leads to your job satisfaction later in later years of your life. So going for just one test is, you're going the halfway. So it's
Okay.
better to have the three areas assessed.
Okay, so how open are parents or students to the feedback that you should not get into a medical field or engineering or a doctor, the age-old fields that have been there? How
Mhm.
open are parents nowadays to suggestions that your child has an aptitude for something which is out of these traditional scopes?
Um, I personally feel that when their child is not at the age of choosing a career or a subject, I find parents being pretty cool about things. But when
Right.
it is about making decisions for their own kid,
Mm-hmm.
we still face a lot of concerns and a lot of challenges in terms of convincing the parent. So
Right.
we might have certain areas where the mother is from the doctor field and the father is from the engineering field, and their
Okay.
families too. And the child wants to go with medical and get into, some dentistry or some other field. And the father is pretty adamant about the engineering field.
Engineering. Okay.
So it's not only the conflict that the child is having within himself or herself, it is the conflict in the family as well.
Right.
So
So,
catering to these areas individually and then combined takes time, but happens.
right. Okay, so as a counselor working for last 5, 6 years, what is it that you would like to suggest or advise to your uh, peers or upcoming counselors into the field, things that they should keep in mind so that the entire process becomes more productive for them as well as the child and the parent?
um, Whenever we enter into field of counseling, you know uh, we generally are way too focused on to giving our best and helping everybody.
Right.
It's very important for us to understand that charity begins from home, and this the mind, our body and our soul is actually the home that we are looking for.
Right.
So dealing through your own self is equally important before you step out and you start to deal with others. So, in case you feel that you are not at the right place mentally or emotionally to cater to a particular child's concerns, it is okay to refer. It is okay to take a step back, introspect, and let the child go to a better person who's, maybe at a better place at that point of time. So that is something that we need to understand. You
So you
cannot
might.
be there for everybody all the time.
All right. Thank
Yes.
you so much, Atipriya. It was really nice talking to you, and I hope the parents as well as the counselors or people who are planning to get into this job have gotten a lot of insights out of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Neha. Likewise, it was wonderful interacting with you.
So that was Miss Atipriya Alawat working as a career counselor and a teacher. And what she said towards the end, I think, is the biggest thing that any counselor or teachers and parents, even the students, need to remember, which is you might not have the answer all the time, every time. It is okay to seek help. It is okay to seek guidance from somebody who has more knowledge, more experience, or even is, at that particular time in their life, have a better understanding of a certain thing that you are facing as a issue. She also, what she said about changing from commerce in her 11th 12th to going to English honors, I think it is okay to not know the answer, or your first choice being something that you have to stick by forever. It is okay to change. But what you need to remember is that time is precious. So every time you're doing a switch without thinking or realizing how important it is gonna something which is gonna cost you more than anybody else. So I hope you enjoyed the session, got an understanding. Please do seek a counselor for your career guidance to understand what your interests are, where your aptitude actually lies. Also, do like, share, and subscribe the channel. And if you have any questions that you want to ask Atipriya, please do feel free to write down in the comments and we'll get back to you. Thank you.